3 levels of demonic influence. Right now, some of you, you're like, okay, how much influence can a demon have? Well, some people are possessed. They are fully controlled to where their personality and the demonic mesh into a blurred line. There are people in the Bible that manifest different personalities and powers and names, and Jesus casts demons out of people. This is the demonic counterfeit of being spirit-filled. Being demon-possessed is the counterfeit of being spirit-filled. These people tend to be very powerful and sometimes even clairvoyant. And sometimes they get diagnosed with what used to be called clinically multiple personality disorder, and now it's been changed to dissociative identity disorder. And what that is that's one person, but there's a lot of persons there. Different names and personalities and likes and manifestations. Sometimes it is trauma, sometimes it is mental illness, sometimes it's demonic. And sometimes people say things like, I hear voices in my head, what's wrong with me? It may be spiritual. Number 2, you can be oppressed. This can be internal or external. If it's external, it means you're so oppressed, and this could be for a believer. Only an unbeliever can be possessed, but a believer can be oppressed. Even Jesus was oppressed. He was in the wilderness for 40 days like Elijah, and at the end, he was exhausted through a demonic battle. Nothing got in him, but it was against him. When you have this, you end up like Elijah. There's going to be a moment coming up in a few weeks where Elijah has a battle with the 850 false prophets of Baal, calls down fire from heaven. Jezebel and Ahab threaten him. It's a demonic oppression. He runs 100 miles, goes into the woods, lays down and says, I just want to die. And God shows up, not to rebuke him, but to comfort him, and takes 40 days to nurse him back to health. He's so exhausted from the oppression. I'm telling you this, preaching is exhausting because not only do people show up to church, so do powers, principalities, and spirits. There's also internal oppression. This can be for a believer. It doesn't mean you're controlled or owned, but it means through habituation, sinful living, rebellion, indulgence of the flesh, you've opened yourself up to internal influence. There are 2 occasions I'll give briefly. One is with Peter. Peter says something to Jesus. Jesus looks at him and says, get behind me, Satan. Peter's like, that's not my name. No, but what you allowed Satan to say something to your mind, and you spoke it through your mouth. That was internal influence. There's another occasion in Acts 5, it's debated, but there's the early church, and there's a husband and a wife, Ananias and Sapphira. They lie to God, they steal from God. Peter looks at them and he says, why have you allowed Satan to fill your heart? Number 3, tendencies. You are not possessed or oppressed, but you have some personality traits and tendencies. Ahab is passive. Some of you, so let's deal with Ahab just briefly. Some of you are more shy. You're more quiet. You don't have a lot of opinions. You don't say a lot of words. It doesn't mean you're an Ahab, but that would be your personality tendency. Some of you are high control. If you're in a room, you're in charge of everyone in the room. Okay? If you chuckle, their husbands didn't. Just pointing that out. My wife laughed because she's an Elijah. And sometimes you've gotten bad teaching. Some of you grew up in really bad Bible teaching churches. You're like, you had legalism and rules and control. So you think just being legalistic, domineering, and overbearing is godly. No, it's not. That's Jezebelian. And some of you have been told, well, if you're a Christian, you're just always nice. You never have conflict. Everybody likes you. You just love everybody. And every day is a rainbow and a pony and a cupcake. Okay? No, that's not true. You had bad teaching. Some of you grew up in dysfunctional family systems where the family was passive or controlling.
Howdy, Pastor Mark here. Thanks for viewing the clip. And if you'd like the entire sermon, we've got it ready to go.